Soup's not bad.
Not today. I like it.
You know, we could eat some more toast. Could somebody call the Toastmaster and get us some more toast? Toastmaster? Oh.
Yeah, they're not having it today.
Welcome to Progressive Soup. My name is David Stevenson. Tonight we have a guest, April Winsley. April has written a book, Where Are You Going? And if you're sitting home watching the show and you don't know where you're going, April will explain to you where you're going and give you some great ideas on how to get there. April, identify yourself, introduce yourself to the audience, and let's go from there.
Perfect. My name is April Dawn Winsley. I'm a new photographer, an author, and kind of a modified self-help coach kind of thing. I started taking pictures after I knew I was pregnant with my first daughter, and decided that I wanted her to know everything about the world. So I took some pictures, decided I loved it. And then about a year ago or so, somebody asked me what I was doing with it. And the answer was nothing. It was something I did as a pastime. And then I realized there were some things going on in my life that I wasn't happy with. And somebody asked, again, what are you doing with your photography? And I decided that I was going to create an inspirational photo book.
Excellent.
And it kind of melded from this idea to what we have now, which is basically questions and pictures. And it all came from the fact that I realized change is happening all around us. People are being downsized. People are getting divorced. Things are happening to people. And I want things to happen for me. I want to affect the change. So in my very small way, I created a scenario where we have these questions and pictures to kind of help you get there. So
it sounds like almost like a self-empowerment.
It really
situation.
is. Because I'm not assuming to know what you need to change in your life, but maybe there's something that if I asked you the right question, all of a sudden the answer would move you to do something different than you did yesterday. So that's really what it's about, is making change happen for yourself. But, people say, hey, how you doing all the time?
And everybody answers
the same thing.
All right.
I'm doing fine, doing it, whatever.
Instead of actually taking stock, taking account of how life is for you.
Exactly.
The good, the bad, and everything in between, and identifying those things. Of course, some people obviously that are not close friends of yours, they're just as happy if you keep it fine. But probably people that are closer to you in your life probably want to hear something a little more than just that.
Exactly. More even that I care about you enough to go, okay, what's stopping you from doing this or that? Or, one of the questions is about fear. Nobody likes to talk about it, but maybe, just maybe, if you realized your public speaking fear is just silly, then you would kind of, dig into it a little bit more, get out there, do it, and then you could do something more than what you wanted to your whole life, And
fears, we know, especially from political campaigns, we know fear is a powerful motivating force, and it's something that if we don't control it, it'll control us.
Exactly. They use it against you.
Oh, yeah.
They tempt you in. They scare you away. So, and what's going on in your life that you're afraid to do, that you haven't taken the chance to do.
Yeah.
One of the questions is, again, like the whole change thing, does change suit you? Change does not suit me. At least it didn't until I realized that if I wasn't willing to change, then how could I expect good things to happen? Because change doesn't always have to be bad.
No.
My hair used to be down to my butt my whole life. It was the thing that I held on to. Don't cut it. An inch off the bottom.
Now, if I were to tell you that my hair used to be pretty close to down to my butt,
I wouldn't believe you.
No, it's been, as the audience knows, it's been a little bit longer than this, and I go through periodic changes of that just to prove to everybody that it's really my hair.
It is yours.
It's not a wig. I have good hair, and sometimes I let it get a little longer than some people might like it.
But I decided basically about 9 months ago that if I wasn't willing to change my hair, how could I think that other changes were going to happen? It's hair. It grows back. It's the ever-changing thing that always actually ends up the same. If you cut off an inch at some point in time, the inch will come back. So if I'm not willing to make those kind of changes, how can I expect a new job to come, or to meet new people, or to create new ventures? Well, I'm not, because I'm kind of happy with not having change happen. So it's been fun, and it's been fun talking to people about it. So many people are kind of unhappy with where they sit in life right now.
Yeah.
And it's been really, really fun to kind of...
And all of us could be in a better place, even if it's just a little bit better place than we are. There's always...
Exactly.
It changes our nearest and dearest friend in life. It's always there. And unless we make the changes will come from external forces.
Exactly.
I want to promote the book a little bit because it's got a lovely front cover. As you can see, it's got the highway with a double stripe, which means it's a busy highway in order to have a double stripe, no crossing either direction. And it explains pretty well what's inside the book. You're traveling somewhere, and you're the master of your destiny.
You really are. And if you don't ask the question, it's kind of like putting the address in your GPS. Your GPS can only get you so far.
Yeah.
So you really have to ask yourself, where are you going? And at the end of the book, actually, one of the questions is, are you going one way, or are you going your way? And so many people feel like they're kind of cattle, and they're being pushed into some direction that they had no say in. I talked to a widow who realized in an instant her kids had her husband had passed about a year ago or so, and she was starting the mourning process, and she realized she had to clean out closets and so forth. But her kids came in, swooped in, and said, "You can't live here anymore. You need a smaller place. You need a condo. We need to do this. We need to do that." And she said yes to everything. And in an instant, in reading that one question, and it wasn't even intentional, it was just the question for her, she was like, I'm not in control at all at this point. And it was the saddest moment for her, because she realized she wasn't the one who knew where she was going. Everyone else was planning and mapping out her life. So
maybe it wasn't the right direction for her.
Exactly. Even if it was a minute from now.
Yeah. It's just a presumption that when you're older, then you need to go into a different situation. You need to make other. When your spouse dies, that's a huge change right there.
Exactly.
But to complicate it further with other changes, well, maybe in time.
Exactly.
But, a little at a time, perhaps. Not such a huge change all at once.
Exactly.
What other people have you met that helped you create a book to help other people and to give other people some sense of how to give themselves self-guidance?
I think most of all, I'm not one of those people who gather friends around. I have true friends, and those people actually have been such a comfort and a help with this, because they've allowed me into their house with my book and go, okay, let's talk about this. Would this be something that would affect your life? And I think that's been the most fun, is actually becoming closer and opening up with friends and family, because we wanted to talk about it. Was this really a relevant book? Like, would you put it on your coffee table and open it up sometimes? And that's really part of the size of it, part of all of that was with help with my friends and family, who were really willing to go, okay, I'm going to answer some of these questions for you and with you, and I'm going to ask you them back so that you can't just, make me answer them. And my husband has been a great help with all that. And my daughter, she was one of the reasons why I wanted to do this. I really wanted her. She's little now. She doesn't quite get it.
And the reference to Toastmasters, of course, was a reference to the fact that April's husband Wayne is in the Bethel Barnum Square Toastmasters with me, and and I know April through Wayne. And so it goes.
Yep, and he's helping me, because he's doing all this speaking, so he's helping me figure out, because that was one of my fears, was public speaking, was talking about things. And what I realized was, it's not about me. It's really about the people that I speak to. And in all of this, I really hope that I can touch someone's life. With each time that I open the book, for as much as I'm proud of it for me, I really, really hope that somebody takes it seriously enough to go, okay, this one really kind of felt funny, or this one, I got this one. I just figured this one out yesterday. Woo! And they start running with it because now it's a reminder that they did that. And yet going back to Sadie, she's been perfect for this. She's little. She's only 3.5, but I have to tell you, she's A, my biggest fan other than my husband, and B, she looks at it and she asks about it and she asks questions, and I'm so excited at the idea that she's going to forever be able to ask herself these questions. And
what a great gift to give to a child, than to give them that little bit of of course, small children need most of their guidance from mom and dad, and they like to have mom and dad be a mom and a dad rather than being their pals. Like I grew up in the yuppie generation and saw so many people, so many adults, some of my contemporaries trying to be friends to their children, and the kids, all well and good, but I've got enough friends. Thanks, mom and dad. Would you mind being a mom and dad and tell me what to do until I'm ready to tell myself what to do?
Right.
But what a great gift to give to a child, that as she grows as a person, can have that gradually increasing sense of empowerment, self-empowerment.
Exactly, and that's what I'm really hoping for her.
And with empowerment comes responsibility.
There is that.
With responsibility comes empowerment. It's just a great human confidence builder.
It is, and I think for her, she's going to learn also how I saw the world visually, which is why it had to have pictures in it, because I think pictures do tell a million stories. You just, one simple shot can tell you so many things about the world in that moment. And so being able to show her how I saw her world while she was growing up is just a gift that I couldn't imagine that was in there. So I love the photography end of it. That is really my niche.
And it's so different now than when I was growing up, where I have, when I was little, I had a bunch of little black and white photos, just a very sketchy outline of what life was like growing up. And it's, you kind of, there's a lot of gaps to fill in there. And you just don't get a sense from just a bunch of black and white photos. They say that a lot of people say that it's too much information, too much observation of our lives, too much videotaping, too many events being videotaped, too many photos, too much of every sense of communication, that we're too busy looking at ourselves, and we can be a little too observational of ourselves. But no, I think in a way it's very good to have that opportunity to look back on ourselves periodically and know where we were and watch ourselves mature and develop.
And I think there's a big difference between taking in our world and sharing that part of our world, and sharing the fact that we just went to Dunkin' Donuts on our iPod. That's a totally different. I definitely agree socially that there's way too much information out there. I don't need to know your whole business. But if you and your family had a picnic,
we all have been friends on Facebook that
oh my,
God bless them, they're wonderful people. But then sometimes you don't need to know
exactly
when they're what they're doing every minute of the day.
Exactly. Though that's the part that's fun when they show the pictures. So that part I love. Friends that I don't necessarily live in the same state, they've had a picnic this weekend, or like pumpkin season. They've just done their pumpkins, and it's wonderful to be able to see that activity that they did. And I'm here in Connecticut going, look at this is what we did this weekend. I love information for that, but
And we can pick and choose, when those friends of ours that do a little too much posting on Facebook, it's up to us to pick and choose what we can watch and observe and comment on what we'd like to, and let the rest go.
Exactly.
It's up to us. We're empowered. We're empowered to be as observational and as complimentary or uncomplimentary to our friends as we care to be. It's a social skill in and of itself.
Exactly. Maybe that'll be a class that they'll take in high school someday. Social skills 101. This is what we should and shouldn't do.
Yeah.
No, I'm loving having the ability to kind of go out and touch lives and just talk with people, kind of find out where they are. I'm very much, I love knowing where you are in life, and love knowing that I can help in any little way that I could. So that's really why we kind of did this.
Let me take a pic through the book. I just want you to comment on a couple of shots that I noticed going through. Okay, here's one. If you can see it in the camera, not the fire, but the spider. And of course, a lot of us have a little bit of arachnophobia. You know, it's a natural, very natural, seemingly natural fear. You may not be able to see it, but you can see the photo of the spider. Okay, and I'm going to read the remark underneath it. Now that you've seen the picture. What are your rational and irrational fears? Do you know the difference? That's something that a lot of people don't get an opportunity to think about.
Right.
What kind of irrational fears and irrational fears do people that you know have? What have you observed over the years as far as fears that are rational or irrational? And how do people know the difference?
Well, I think the difference is the hard part. I think that I've had friends who've almost crashed their cars because there's a spider. That's understanding that spiders are not fun and yummy, like yay creatures, but at the same time, almost getting into an accident because you have one in the car, totally, irrational. Speaking in front of people, like that was my fear. I'm realizing that it is kind of an irrational fear. I mean, it's not like they're going to come and, rush me for not saying what they like to say and so forth, but it's a confidence thing. So I guess in the moment of your fear, you have to decide whether or not can it really kill you.
This segues well. I had a show on a couple of months ago with a good friend of mine, Beth Girelli, talking about anxiety, because she's a psychologist and she deals with people and their anxieties and kind of coaches them through that. I also had with me Mitch Fuchs, who is a politician, and we talked about, again, speaking in public speaking. And of course, Wayne and I have an opportunity to do that in Toastmasters, but things that people can do in order to get them through that anxiety that comes along with, there's a bunch of people out there, and I don't know who they are.
Right.
I don't know how they're going to perceive me. How do you block that out? What do you do? I mean, there's things that I've learned to do, like with these 3 cameras that we try to ignore,
right,
as you're doing a very good job of. But what do people do? I mean, what kind of thing is there to do to get around that?
Well, I think that sometimes when you have it, like Wayne, perfect example. He is one of those people who have realized that he is confident in himself, that when he gets up to speak, he never speaks unless he knows what he's speaking of. And so that, I guess, for him would be the way that he managed to not be ever afraid of speaking in public.
So in other words, you have so much preparation that when you get up in front of people to speak, you can throw caution to the wind because you have nothing to worry about.
Exactly. And some people have the brain to be able to really memorize things and know things. And when you don't, I think that becomes a fear too, is that I would love to be good at this. I would love to be able to say this, but do I have the memory? Do I have the capabilities? And so that becomes one of the things that you have to get over. And for me, I decided that I was cool enough, that I'm cool. I can do this. Yeah. Like, I know what I'm talking about when it pertains to what I'm passionate about. Yeah. And maybe you're not passionate about whatever you're talking about, but you have to be for that minute. And that maybe that could break you through, the fear factor. Just become passionate for a minute, even if it's, high school student talking about, Roosevelt. Yeah. Just love them for that minute and make it everything, and, kind of get over it and then realize at the end of it, okay, it wasn't so bad.
Makes sense to me.
I have much admiration for people who have the ability to just get up on a stage and just speak. And yes, watching Wayne with his Toastmaster things and you guys, I'm in awe. I genuflect in your general direction, and I would love to be able to have that kind of skill, but that's where the fear factor comes in, and I'm making it go away.
I'm the opposite way. If I have a speech memorized, because I've given a couple speeches at Toastmasters, and I get up on stage, and no matter how much I've memorized it, I still have to kind of look at it, and it's much easier for me when I'm extemporaneous, and I just let what I'm saying go. I have like a little bit of an outline of what we're talking about or what I'm talking about.
Right.
But it's easier for me when it's as unscripted as humanly possible, and still be able to touch on a few points that I want to touch on. But do you speak at all in front of people?
I work in a doctor's office, so I speak.
You speak in
all
front
day.
of a lot of people then.
Exactly.
Okay. That must be exciting.
Sorry.
Good timing with that.
Of course. I do. I love my job. I speak all day. I work in insurance.
Yeah.
So I am the person that speaks to everyone in the office. So
Okay.
I speak a lot all day to people, and it's easy because I know what I'm talking about. Sorry.
That's okay.
So that makes it easier when you know what you're talking about, I think, for me anyways.
So let's get back to, if I could, let's get back to your daughter and the process of her growing up versus the process of you or Wayne growing up or you growing up. And looking backwards, how could this book have helped you? I mean, you're helping other people by the book.
Right.
Let's go back in time, and how could it have? Do you think it would have changed your life to have had the book as guidance?
Oh, most definitely. I don't. I think that I think I lacked some guidance. My mom was a working mom, and of that generation, we were all kind of latchkey kids.
Yep.
We came home, we took care of ourselves. I actually helped raise my brother, so I kind of did everything on the fly, and love my mom dearly. No animosity, but I definitely could have used some guidance and some assurance and those kind of things. And I think that her watching me put this together, B, going through it, and my looking at her and looking at myself, going exactly that. What could she use someday? What could she benefit from? And questioning herself is definitely one of those things. And I think that I had a fear in questioning myself because I didn't know the answers. I didn't know if the answers were right. And what if I found the answer and I didn't know what to do with it? That's the worst. Like, I have the answer now, and where do I go? So that's really, she has been a great, great joy, and knowing that I have prepared some steps before her, and when I'm not here, she'll still know.
Yeah.
So it's been fun, and it's been great that she's been involved in it. Her picture is actually in there, and so it's kind of been fun to be able to incorporate her that. So I like it. I love her, and like I said, she has been a huge inspiration for me.
Children are a lot of fun raising.
She really is, and you know what? I knew, it's in my book, I knew that I wanted to be a mom from when I was like 11 years old. Like, as soon as I knew I could become a mom. And so in school, when they did those projects where you had to make a poster of who you were going to be, I would make things up because you couldn't just say you wanted to be a mom because nobody understood that. So I would pretend I'd want to be a botanist or an equestrian because then I could make really cool pictures. It's not really what I wanted to do. And then basically she was exactly what I had always wanted. I also always wanted a girl for no other reason, just because I wanted a little girl. So I was blessed with a daughter, and
Excellent.
She's a cool kid. She's a really cool kid.
What else do you want to talk about?
What do I want to talk about? I think that what we were kind of talking about, that whole change and affecting change and things, I think that there's so many people that I know right this second who are going through things and keep asking the whys. To the world, but not necessarily the whys to themselves. And I think that it's kind of time for us to kind of give up in the best of ways for other people to come in and rescue us from this situation. Like the whole idea that the economy is going to get better and all of a sudden our employers are going to rehire the jobs that we're now doing, it's not going to happen. Our employers are glad now that we are doing those jobs for what we're being paid for. And for as much as the economy may change, that's probably not a part of what's going to happen. So let's start looking at what we're doing in the best of ways. And even if it's to take on a project maybe that you hadn't, you'd put on the back burner and hadn't thought about it, how about doing it? How about, I have friends that who want to make pound cake. It's the silliest thing.
Yeah.
She's from another country and has this great recipe for pound cake. Wherever we go, there's a pound cake.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until I decided to do this book that she realized she had to act and not just think about it. And so it's little things like that. For her, she wants to be able to make it and distribute it, and not necessarily do it nationwide, but, make it, something profitable for her family. So I just kind of think that families in general and personally, kind of have to re-look at what's going on in their lives. If you're not happy where you work, maybe you can't quit, but maybe you can start doing something on your own time that's going to make you happy.
It sounds like there's a lot of don't be a planner, be a doer.
Yeah.
In that. And that strikes a very, very strong nerve for us here on the show, because we all got the training at Comcast, and we had a show in planning, I would say for 6 months at least, planning on how to do it and planning and planning and planning. And finally we just decided that, hey, you know what? Let's go to the studio and let's do a show.
Right.
And see how it goes. And once we started doing that, it all fell into place.
Exactly.
And we found that we learned as we went. We found that it was kind of exciting. We found that we made some mistakes on the stage. We made some mistakes in the studio. And yet at the same time, those mistakes weren't really that horrendous.
Exactly.
And after all, it's public access TV. And who's watching anyway? Oh, sorry. I don't mean to begrudge the audience, but yes, thank you for watching. We're doing our best. So so actually doing rather than planning.
Exactly.
What
and
a
even if it doesn't
concept.
come out good the first time, do it again and do it again and do it again, and just do it because it makes you feel good, and because now you found that little bit of joy that you didn't have yesterday. And how cool is that, maybe this show is the show that you go, oh, cool. We did a good job this. We figured that part out. Yay. And it goes to the next one.
And practice makes better. There's no perfect.
Exactly.
The plan for perfection is to never accomplish anything.
Exactly.
But by doing, you learn and expand your horizons. And we've only got a minute left, but I have to tell a real quick story before we sign off. Not necessarily a big fan of Joel Osteen, he's a minister, but I saw one show just by chance on a Sunday morning, and he sounded very liberal to me in the sense of being open-minded, which is a classic definition of liberal. He said, if you don't think you like the opera, go to the opera. You might find that you like it. If you think you don't like fishing, try it. By doing things that you're not used to doing, by hanging with people that may not think exactly like you, you expand your horizons and you open yourself up to some new things. And I think with that, we're going to have to close down and say this has been Progressive Soup. April Dawn Winsley. I'm David Stevenson. Thank you for the production crew, and good night.